Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and to serve the community. It is good to be together this morning. Grateful all of you are here. My name is Reverend Lane-Mairead Campbell. I am the minister of this congregation, and I use they, them pronouns. This morning, leading worship with me, Johanna Connolly, using she, her pronouns. We have Dr. Brock Chesvold on the organ and also on the piano and directing our choir, using he, him pronouns. This morning, providing us some tech support, Michael Scott, using he, him pronouns. Michael also installed this incredible camera for us yesterday. Michael, thank you for that. Thank you for your labor there. It's helped, but like I'm being able to be seen in a different way online. If you've noticed, we don't have like smartphones on tripods all over the front here today that we've been sort of making our way with. So Michael, thank you so much for this. It's actually really lovely to get to see Dr. Brock playing the organ this morning rather than, having to guess what's behind the curtain. So what a fantastic piece of technology. Thank you so much. Michael, we also have joining us from our online ministry team, we have Bridget Watts using she, her pronouns, and Lisa Gwinner using she, her pronouns. Thank you so much for your work there. Before we get started, I want to just say, if you are here for the first or the second or the third time, we especially welcome you. Thank you so much for making your way to this worshiping community. We have a visitor's form that can be filled out either by clicking the link in the chat if you're online, or by scanning the QR code in your order of service or in the pews, so you can fill out a visitor's form so we can offer you a welcome beyond what we can offer you here. Following our service today, we will have coffee hour, both online, so stick around if you're online, and in our Clara Barton Lounge right out here after the service. So please join us for some fellowship and some time to be together. Before we turn to one another to offer a greeting, either in this space or for folks joining us online, let us take a moment to attempt to connect both communities. Oh my gosh, Michael, so what we're gonna do is the camera's back there. So if folks would turn around that way and offer a wave, look at this. This is the technology of the future. Michael, wow. We're so glad you're all online with us this morning. I'm so glad you can actually see all of us in this way. So if you are joining us in person, please rise and greet your neighbor. If you're joining us online, please pop into the chat and offer a greeting this morning. Well, let us join hearts and voices in singing. This morning we will sing hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. We'll have some words up on the screen, and also if you'd like to follow along in your gray hymnals. It's just so hard. Come back to us. We need to sing together. Let's rise in body or in spirit. Hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. Please be seated.
Good morning. In the slow movements, in the movements when we don't know whether or not we will make it, when we are clearing the snow off the car for the umpteenth time, sorry, that's rather personal. I don't have a garage. When we reluctantly agreed to read that bedtime story we've read over 100 times in the past 2 days, we are confronted with the slog, and we are confronted with a choice. Do we continue trudging or do we give up? The answer for each person is different, and it depends. Yet as we are here, as we have slogged and trudged and even danced through life to get to this moment, it is a good reminder that we do not have to slog alone. It's good to be next to one another here, learning how to traverse this thing we call life together. Come, let us worship this morning. As Tom comes forward to light our chalice, and people at home could light theirs if they wish. Will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Followed by our doxology. Our Sunday offering goes to support the good works of First Universalist Church. As we create welcome for our community, as we serve as safe harbor for theological reflection and spiritual nourishment, as we continue our fight for justice, your generosity is what makes all this possible. You're invited to give online by scanning the QR code in your pews, or to drop an offering in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity.
I am waiting in the silence. I am waiting for the dawn. I am often found in reverence, though from many sources drawn. It is not mine to fight for justice, for it will not be won this day. I am peace, and I am waiting for the lost to find their way. fear. I am found among the seasons, autumn's death and spring's rebirth, as relentless the momentum as the turning of the earth. All are welcome in my presence, for only love can conquer hate. I have reaped, and for the harvest I have planted and will wait.
Our story this morning is A Different Pond, and it's written by Vietnamese author Bao Phi and illustrated by T. Bui. Dad wakes me quietly so Mom can keep sleeping. Feels like a gift this morning. It will be hours before the sun comes up. In the kitchen, the bare bulb is burning. Dad has been up for a while making sandwiches and packing the car. Can I help? I ask. Sure, my dad whispers and hands me the tackle box. The street lights look brighter, and the roads aren't so busy before the sun comes up. Dad turns on the heater and tells me stories. A kid at my school says my dad's English sounds like a thick, dirty river. But to me, his English sounds like a gentle rain. We stop at the bait store on Lake Street. It always seems to be open. You're here early, the bait man says. I got a second job, my dad explains. I have to work this morning. On a Saturday, the bait man asks. My dad nods. I feel the bag of minnows move. They swim like silver arrows in my hands. It's still dark when we get to the pond. We park the car and climb over the divider between the road and the trees. My dad holds my hand and walks ahead through the tangle and scrub. Step where I step, he says. I'm thinking about what Dad told the bait man. If you got another job, why do we still have to fish for food? I ask. Everything in America costs a lot of money, he explains. I feel calluses on his hands when he squeezes mine. Sometimes a Hmong man is at the pond. He speaks English like my dad and likes to tell funny jokes. Sometimes there is a black man there too. He shows me his colorful lure collection. This time, it's just me and my dad. It is a little bit cold. I rub my hands together, yawn, and look up to see the stars, faint like freckles. As Dad sets up a clearing, I gather small, thin twigs for a fire. They need to be dry and clean. I count 10, and then 10 more for later. I put some rocks in a circle and set up the twigs like a volcano, Dad reminds me. I set one end of each twig down, the other up, leaning them in so they rest against each other and hold each other up. I get it to light with just one match. Dad nods. You want to put a minnow on the hook, Dad asks. I want to help, but I shake my head no. I don't want to hurt that little fish, even if I know it's about to be eaten by a bigger one. My dad smiles. He isn't upset with me. My dad hands me a sandwich, cold bologna between two pieces of bread. Careful of the spicy stuff, he says. There's half a peppercorn, like a moon split in two, studded into the meat. I used to fish by a pond like this when I was a boy in Vietnam, Dad says, biting into his sandwich. With your brother, I ask? He nods, then looks away. Dad tells me about the war, but only sometimes. He and his brother fought side by side. One day, his brother didn't come home. The bobber dips in the dark, and Dad pulls. Got one, he says, almost shouting. A crappie. And soon another. Can I help? I ask. He nods, and I use two hands to guide the fish into the bucket. The fish feels slimy and rough at the same time. Dad laughs at the funny face I make. Dad smiles, his teeth broken and white in the dark because we have a few fish, and he knows we will eat tonight. Time to go home. Dad must get ready for work. He washes his hands with a small nub of green and white soap, then I do the same. I look at the trees as we walk back to the car. I wonder what the trees look like at that other pond in the country where my dad comes from. By the time we get home, the sunlight coming through the windows is just a faint tint, blue and gray instead of gold. At home, Mom looks tired, but she smiles at the fish in the big white bucket. My dad changes his clothes and gets ready to go to work. He pats me on the back and says to Mom, our boy did a good job with the fire today. You learn quickly, Mom says. Then she asks me to help with the fish before she has to go to work too. I'm sad that she and Dad must leave, but not too sad. I know that later on they will both come home. Look after your baby brother, Mom reminds my brothers and sisters. She means me. Then she gets on her bike and goes to work. I'm not a baby, I think to myself. I helped catch dinner. Tonight, when we are all home, Dad will put rice in the cooker and Mom will fry the fish on both sides until they are crispy. I will bring out the jar of fish sauce that has flecks of chili pepper and carrots floating on top. At the table, my brothers and sisters will tell funny stories. Mom will ask about their homework. Dad will nod and smile and eat with his eyes half closed. Good fish, he will say to me. And I will smile and nod. And later, when we sleep, we will dream of fish in faraway ponds. The end. I have to tell you all that while I was attempting to find a story for this Sunday, I Googled, children's books about a slog, and nothing came up. But I will say, I Googled children's books about a journey or about what a normal day might look like. And this felt like a story that we could share in together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing witness to it. This morning, as we do every second Sunday here at First Universalist Church, we do have our food in gathering. This is food and supplies that we send to the Nestor Street food cupboard. So if you have any food or supplies that you'd like to bring forward at this time or raise above your head, anybody bring any extra food? We have folks already dropped some off up here. Oh, Bill's got some. Bring it on down. Bring it on down. Thank you. This is a community food cupboard that we have been in relationship with for many, many, many years here at First Universalist. And it's just great that we get to send them along to them, not only food, but also supplies. Great. Thanks so much. As we transition from our story to our joys and sorrows, we'll invite any kids who'd like to go upstairs to head on upstairs. Kids are always welcome to stay down here with us, though, if they'd like. Enjoy your time. Dear ones, I'd like to invite you into this reverent time of sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a heart-centered place and space. As Johanna comes forward to place stones into the bowl of water, I will read aloud the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. All are invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat so we can also hear from our online community. This morning, we share a sorrow from Paula Marchese and for our city of Rochester for the devastating deaths at the Armory. Our hearts go out this morning to the families of the victims with profound sorrow for their loss. We also share a sorrow this morning from Lou Ward Baker that Barbara Ward is in hospice care at Pearl Nursing Center. So we are thinking of Barb and her children and all those who are offering her care in this time. We also share a sorrow from MJ Curry that a good friend is suffering from a brain tumor and the after effects of chemo. MJ, thinking of you and of your friend. And we share a concern for Lois Baum, who is in the hospital at Strong Memorial. However, she reports this morning that the vegan chicken tenders are delicious. So she's finding some ways to pass the time. Really grateful they have some vegan options there for you, Lois. We'll drop one stone into the bowl for all the joys shared by our online community. And we'll drop a stone for the sorrows shared in the chat by our online community. And let us drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and the sorrows that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love this morning. Dear ones, I want to invite you into a time of prayer and meditation this morning. I invite you to just sit back in your seat, allow your hands to rest gently in your lap, allow your shoulders to roll down, maybe roll them out just a little bit. Allow your weight to be held by the pew or the chair or the couch or wherever you find yourself. And if you'd like to, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. We'll just take a deep breath together as we center ourselves in this time of prayer and meditation. Spirit of the less than fun, spirit of the hard experiences, the moments when we would rather go off somewhere and hide out. We know that there have been moments in our lives when you have drawn near to us. We know that there have been days, weeks, months that have been difficult. Help us to listen for what you are teaching us. Strengthen our hearts to wake up to what is possible in these difficult times. Guide us in ways of being present and realistic about our difficulties. Show us how to continue when we would rather not, when we would like to give up, when the going gets tough. Help us to find hope. Hope in the hard places. Hope where it is needed most. Help us to find hope in the eyes of another, in the things we are learning to do, in the new ways we are in relationship. Help us to remember we can do hard things. Help us to remember the moments in our lives when we experienced deep reward in doing hard things. Teach us to surrender. Teach us to surrender to circumstances beyond our control, to all that we cannot influence nor change, to the experiences that open our hearts in new and tender ways. Remind us that there is freedom in such sweet surrender. Help us to remember that life is not meant to be easy all the time. Help us to remember the strength we possess to continue. Remind us of the deep hope found within. May we remain connected to the hope and the learning and the strength and the resilience in the days and in the months ahead. May these memories guide us. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. As we enter into a time of shared silence together, let us just hold space for those in our lives who are experiencing hard times. Could be holding space for ourselves, for people we are concerned about, or for people whom our hearts are with right now, but let us hold space in the silence to bring them to mind and to hold them in our hearts and minds' attention. Our hymn of contemplation this morning is hymn number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. This is from the Buddhist tradition, and it is a beautiful meditation that we will engage with together. So you'll sing from your seats, and we'll begin with focusing on ourselves. So whether or not you were sitting with yourself in our silence, or shared silence, or if you need to get there now, just invite you to get centered in yourself. To really draw within and to sing these words to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful. bring to heart and mind someone whom we deeply care about. It could be a close friend, a spouse, a partner, a family member. Let us bring their face to our minds and heart's eye. Let us bring our loving and our caring attention to them. For someone whom we love, let us sing to them these same words. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. We'll transition our loving attention to someone whom we are holding concern for this morning. Could be someone we shared a sorrow about, or someone whose sorrows you are familiar with and you know. Someone in your life who might be sick or who is struggling in this time, going through a difficult time. Let's bring their face and their essence into our mind's eye and to our heart's attention, and let us sing to them as well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. One last time, we will bring somebody's face and self to mind and to heart with whom we are in conflict. Someone with whom we are having a difficult time right now. It could be someone with whom we are no longer speaking, or someone with whom we are just engaged in an active conflict in this very moment. For them, we are here to wish them the same. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. Out of the relationships with those we love, out of the relationships for those with whom we have a concern, out of our relationships with those we are in conflict, we consider who these folks are in relationship with. We expand our mind and heart's attention to widen to our Rochester community, to our state of New York, to our country, to our world, to all its creatures and inhabitants, to this planet that carries us. And we hold that deep we that is at the center of our experience. As we expand our hearts to hold all, we sing, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. This past Friday evening, the snow began to come down, and it was hard to see a few blocks out. As the snow continued to fall, our city, as it always has been, was transformed. Cars moved much slower, hopefully. People made their way to spaces that were warm and safe. We had to prioritize our safety, and so we took curves at a much different pace. The fear set in about whether or not we would go off the road or hit somebody, and so we slowed down. We began to slog home. Especially those of us walking through the snow, for which my heart just holds an extra tenderness every time I see it. Boots covered up to the ankles and beyond. The thought crosses the mind in the trudging. Will I make it home okay? And we did what we could to ensure that the answer was yes. We cared for one another by slowing down. We cared for one another by taking a wide berth around those walking in the streets because the sidewalks are too icy. Our city transformed, shifted, adjusted. Today marks the beginning of a new seasonal theme for us and for our Greater Rochester Unitarian Universalist partners, slogging with spirit. It feels a bit ironic to have it begin on the Sunday of daylight savings time. I don't know that we were thinking that one through, but here we are. For those of you who, were unfamiliar with the definition of this, this term slogging, to slog is to work on something hard over a period of time. It is about work that is tiring and difficult and sometimes boring. And though the experiences that come to mind when I think of slogging are unpleasant, I am wondering this morning about the rewards of slogging. I'm wondering about what is to love in the boredom or in the moments when it feels like we just have to accept that a process is hard. I'm wondering if there are things to learn as we are slogging our way through this snow, slogging our way through that home improvement project, or that class we thought was going to be easier, or that thing we took on that has proven to be much more work than we originally anticipated. Our story this morning helps to get to the heart of it. This young boy is awoken early to go out into the cold dark with his father to fish. It is sometimes boring and tiring, especially in the minds of young people. It is very often lots of waiting with no fish caught that day, but in our story, we see the ways this child passes the time. We see the way that this time affords him a moment to listen to his father sharing rare stories. We see that he finds a sense of his own self in helping to provide fish for dinner. There are good things to come out of moments of boredom, or even the tediousness of tasks we continue to do because we have to. I find this mindset incredibly countercultural. It is countercultural right now to be bored. It is countercultural to stick with things that are hard rather than quitting. I have a dear friend who is an early childhood educator and says that she considers her job to be giving some of these kids some time to just be bored. And I have to say, boredom being countercultural is a bit concerning to me. So much focus on instant gratification. So much focus on what can happen now, on how we can be endlessly entertained, how life should be exciting and in motion all of the time. And I struggle with this because I'm someone who loves joy and excitement and movement forward and good things all of the time. I am not saying this morning that we do not need joy or entertainment in our lives. Please do not come to church to hear that what we need is more boredom and tough stuff. But I am saying this morning that I think we could use some balancing out of the downtime, the fallow time, the time when things are not entertaining but strained and difficult. There are deep rewards in being a bit bored. There are deep rewards in the slogging, in sticking with what is difficult. One of our deepest held values in Unitarian Universalism is interdependence. We value the ways that love is expressed through interdependence. And what I mean by this is that we recognize our lives and the lives of those around us happen in a network of connected relationships. Relationships with other people, with the earth, with creatures, etc., with institutions, with places, with locations. And yet I do not know how we find ways to notice and uplift our interdependence without a bit of slogging, of slowing, of struggle. If all relationships happened with ease, we would not be human. If there is one person in this room who has 100% relationships that happen with ease all of the time, I'd love to meet you. If we could make it through this life alone, this might not be one of our most deeply held values, right? Without moments of trying to go it alone and recognizing that we cannot escape this network of mutuality that undergirds our existence and makes our life possible, we truly cannot see these relationships for what they are. None of us can exist in a vacuum. And our job here in this community is to celebrate that interdependence and to make space to recognize it in our individual lives as well as our collective experience. You are here, I imagine, because you seek community. You are here because you seek to place yourself spiritually in this world. You are here because there have been moments of heartbreak and struggle, that you seek a space to bring those pains and to sit with them. This is a huge part of why we do church. And while I am up here asking us to embrace a little more boredom and a little more slogging in our lives, I'm also wanting to caution you about moments when we choose to suffer through things that are not worth suffering. There's a fine line of discernment here, and it's a bit hard to get at, but I would say that we do not have to choose pain, and we do not have to choose to slog through something for the sake of other people that is at great cost to ourselves. We do not have to slog through something for the sake of other people that is at a great cost to ourselves. I imagine a part of what brings you here is that you care about people. I imagine a part of what brings you here is that you have a big heart. I imagine we have some big hearts in this space this morning, online and in this room. And born out of those big hearts is a desire to help others. It's part of this interdependence piece that we value so much. And yet, when that helpfulness causes us to hurt or to push through pain or to even ignore our own feelings, that is not the slog I am talking about loving this morning. That is a breeding ground for resentment and also for burnout and also for fracture in relationship with ourselves. The slogs worth embracing are those that serve us in some way. The slogs worth embracing are those we know are working towards a larger and more important goal. There is nothing wrong with tapping out of a slog that is actively causing you harm. Nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with coming to the realization that you cannot continue slogging at a detriment to yourself. I have witnessed many folks in this church community and in my life caring for aging parents and caring for spouses or loved ones who are in declining health. I learn so much from the experiences you share with me. This work is loving. It is a way we nurture and care for those who have nurtured and cared for us. And that work is not easy. The decisions to be made, the ways that we sometimes find ourselves fighting for what we think are the best options for their care. Sometimes this kind of care is just downright tiring. Sometimes it puts us at odds with other family members. Sometimes it is a logistical burden. And I have heard so many times about the rewards of caring for loved ones whose health is fading. I have heard the ways it allows for us to be in an active role in a loved one's life, ways we could not imagine anyone else doing this. It is so often a slog that is so very worth it. A time when we learn about the resources and the resilience we possess. A time that can be costly and that can bring up all kinds of resentment and even burnout. And yet working towards a loved one feeling cared for in their final days or years by our own hearts and hands and minds. I have heard time and time again that the slog was worth it, that it was temporary, that it was what needed to be done, that it even felt good at times to feel needed. What is to love about a slog? In the slog, we can find out about what our deepest held values actually are. We can find that we care more about connecting with others or offering care or whatever it is, rather than getting things done quickly and efficiently. In a slog, we can take the space and the time to slow into relationships and to create space for rare conversations and sharing out of difficult work we may emerge with a better understanding of our capacity, things we didn't know we could do before we had to do them. A slog can help us get in touch with our strengths. Surviving it and learning from it can help us in our future endeavors. All things do not need to be instantly gratifying. All things do not need to move quickly and efficiently. All things do not have to be easy. There is much to gain when we do not take the easy road. And I am reminded this morning that no one's really grateful for the slog when they're in the midst of it, right? It's always in hindsight. It's always at the end when we can have these reflections. So please do not hear from me this morning be asked to unrealistically be grateful for the slog while you were in it. But please hear this morning that I am inviting us into reflecting on what we have gained in those times when we continue to do that hard thing. So in something I thought I'd never say from up here, I'm wishing you a bit of a slog in the days and weeks to come. Or more accurately, I'm wishing you all the strength and the learning in the midst of the slogs you are already engaged in. May they help you better understand your own interdependence. May they help you know who you are in relationship with. May they help you know what is worth the hard work and the effort to get there. May we be attentive to the things that are hard in this life, and may we accept their blessings. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Likewise, this morning, when we were planning this service, if you look in the back of your gray hymnals, there is a glossary, an index of first lines based on subject, and slogging wasn't in there somehow. Quite frankly, I think Unitarian Universalism is a very optimistic religion, and we aren't usually singing about things that are tough. But Brock and I wrapped our hearts and minds around this. We thought we'd sing, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People," to acknowledge maybe some of what's going on for us in the midst of the slog, and to sing about it. So if you would, please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing hymn number 170, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People."
Gentle, angry people.
Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame this morning with our words on the screen and in our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. And I'll invite you at this point in our service to place a hand over your heart, to take a look around this room. If you're joining us online, to turn your view to gallery view, to take a look around the room. Just see who is here with you, who is in the midst of this slog with you. Who will you be slogging beside, dear friends? Dear ones, this week, I am wishing you moments of sweet surrender and reflection. I am wishing you a gentle lovingness with yourself in the midst of difficult and hard times. I am wishing you strength and resilience and all the rewards that come when the hard times pass and we remember that they are temporary. Dear ones, may we continue to hold that hope that hard times are temporary. And may we hold that hope out of the love we have and we know for ourselves. May you know that you are loved. And may you go and be that love to whomever you meet in the days ahead. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.